I should have known it was going to be one of those weekends, the kind that starts normal and ends with someone losing their mind when my doorbell rang like a damn fire alarm. It was Saturday morning. I was still in my robe halfway through my first sip of coffee when I heard the shrill voice of our neighborhood tyrant, Karen, the HOA president. She wasn't knocking. She was summoning. "Excuse me," she shouted loud enough to wake the next county. "You can't just let strangers roam around our community." I peeked through the blinds, and of course there she was, standing on my driveway like she owned the whole neighborhood, clutching her clipboard like it was a holy relic. Beside her stood my buddy Matt, frozen mid-step, holding a box of donuts. Poor guy had driven over to hang out, watch the game, and bring breakfast. Apparently that was enough for Karen to label him a trespasser on a top-secret mission to destroy suburban peace. I opened the door and tried to speak, but Karen launched into her monologue before I could even inhale. "Sir, I've called security. You can't have unauthorized guests entering HOA property without prior notice. Section 7B clearly states." She wagged her pen at me like I was a naughty kid caught stealing cookies. "Karen," I interrupted. "He's my friend. He's bringing donuts. You want to check for explosives?" Her eyes narrowed. "Oh, so now you're threatening me." Before I could blink, she pulled out her phone and dialed 911. Right there, over a box of powdered donuts. "Hello, yes, there's a suspicious man on private property," she said, pacing my driveway. "He looks dangerous." Dangerous. The guy was wearing cargo shorts and a baseball cap. The only lethal thing about him was his cholesterol. I tried to talk her down, but she was too busy glaring at Matt's car, muttering something about unregistered vehicles. Matt just stood there, calm, that half-amused smirk he always had, the one that said, "I've seen worse." Then Karen's voice went up an octave. "He's tall, he's got sunglasses, and oh my God, he's wearing an earpiece. He's wired." I nearly choked on my coffee. The earpiece was his Bluetooth headset. Matt exhaled slowly like he was fighting the urge to laugh. "Ma'am," he said evenly, "you might want to hang up before you embarrass yourself." She bristled. "Excuse me, who do you think you are?" That's when he reached into his jacket pocket and pulled out a badge. "Detective Matthew Harris, City PD. Off duty today." Silence. Absolute glorious silence. You could have heard the sound of her dignity hitting the pavement. Karen's face went through every shade of red known to mankind. You're a what?" "Detective," he repeated calmly. "And before you finish that 911 call, you might want to remember that filing false reports is a punishable offense." She froze. Her little HOA volunteer backup team shifted awkwardly behind her. One whispered, "Karen, maybe we should go." But Karen doesn't retreat. "Oh no." She jabbed her pen at me again. "This isn't over. I'll be filing a formal complaint." "Go ahead," Matt said coolly. "Include the donuts as evidence." She spun on her heel, muttering ungrateful neighbors, and stormed off. The second she disappeared, I burst out laughing. "Dude, I think you just broke her brain." Matt handed me the donut box. "You weren't kidding about your HOA. She really thought she was running a sting operation. I thought that was the end. I was wrong." By Monday morning, a bright yellow envelope sat in my mailbox with "Urgent HOA Violation" stamped across it. Inside, a 3-page letter accused me of allowing unauthorized law enforcement presence on community grounds. It even included blurry photos and timestamps. According to Karen, my friend's badge had caused fear among residents. Fear. From a donut-eating detective. I laughed until my phone buzzed. Matt. He didn't even say hello. "You get your love letter from the HOA yet? Don't tell me you got one too." "Oh, I got something better," he said, chuckling. She filed an online report accusing me of impersonating an officer. Internal Affairs just called. They were laughing so hard they could barely get through the details. "She actually accused you of that?" "Yep, 2:30 in the morning. Half the report is typos and paranoia. She claims I'm part of a fake cop ring trying to infiltrate the HOA. For a second I didn't know whether to laugh or move out. It was insane, but part of me started to worry. What if she actually got traction with this? What if she convinced people I'd done something wrong? I started avoiding neighbors, noticing the side-eye looks, the whispers. I felt embarrassed, angry, and oddly small, like I was being watched in my own home. That night I sat on my porch staring at the violation letter, thinking maybe I should just let it go. Maybe it was easier to keep my head down. Matt called again. "You're quiet," he said. "I'm just tired of this crap, I admitted. Maybe it's not worth fighting. He paused, then said softly, Ethan, people like her don't stop when you back down. They stop when you stand up. That line stuck. The next day, a couple of black and white patrol cars rolled into the neighborhood around noon. I was watering my plants, pretending not to stare. Karen, of course, came charging out of her house in her floral robe, phone in hand, filming like a YouTube reporter. See, they're back. But this time they didn't stop at my driveway. They walked right past me and straight to hers. I swear if I live to be 100, I'll never forget that moment. Karen's voice cracked. What's going on? Matt stepped forward in uniform now and handed her a document. Ma'am, this is a cease and desist order. You've filed multiple false reports against a law enforcement officer. That's a serious offense. Her jaw dropped. I was just protecting the neighborhood. You people should be thanking me. Matt tilted his head. You called 911 because a man was carrying donuts. Maybe stop policing pastries, ma'am. Half the street was watching neighbors peeking through blinds, one guy recording from a lawn chair. Karen realized the crowd wasn't on her side. She started yelling, "This is harassment. I'll have you all arrested." One officer stepped forward. Actually, ma'am, this is a formal warning for misuse of emergency services. Another incident like this and you'll be facing charges. Her face twisted, part fury, part disbelief. When they left, she turned to me across the street and screamed, "This isn't over. You and your cop friend are finished." Matt just smiled, raised a hand, and called back, "Careful, Karen. Threatening an officer's another bad move." The neighbors erupted in laughter. Someone shouted, "Hey, Karen, maybe complain to reality next time." That night, Matt came over. We sat outside, 2 cups of coffee between us, the adrenaline finally wearing off. You know, he said, I deal with criminals and liars every day, but HOA president's different species. I laughed, but he stayed serious. She won't stop. They double down when they're cornered. If she keeps going, we'll make sure the board sees everything. I didn't realize then how soon that would happen. By Wednesday, flyers started appearing on mailboxes. Emergency HOA meeting, Thursday, 7 p.m. Topic: security breach. Karen had gone full propaganda mode. She even emailed everyone warning about dangerous law enforcement infiltration. I couldn't resist. I had to see how far she'd take this. Thursday night, the clubhouse was packed. Every seat filled, neighbors standing in the back murmuring. Karen sat front and center in her blazer and pearls, her glitter-pink gavel on the table like a crown jewel. "This meeting is now in session," she announced, smacking the gavel. "The safety of our neighborhood has been compromised." Someone in the back whispered, "Is this about the donut guy again?" Karen puffed up. "That donut guy is part of a larger scheme. He claimed to be a police officer, but I have reason to believe he's been using that badge to intimidate me and infiltrate our community." I bit back a laugh. She actually said infiltrate. Then she pointed her pen right at me. "And you, Mr. Turner, allowed this man onto HOA property without prior approval. You endangered every resident here." I leaned back, folded my arms, and said, "Karen, if eating donuts is a crime, we're all going to jail." The room cracked up. Even a couple of board members couldn't hide their smirks. Karen slammed her gavel again. "This is not a joke. I moved to suspend Mr. Turner's HOA membership effective immediately." Before anyone could react, a voice from the back said calmly, "Before you vote, I think everyone should see what really happened." Matt stepped forward, holding a small tablet. He connected it to the projector. The screen flickered, and then played Karen's own doorbell camera footage. Gasps filled the room. There she was in glorious HD, screaming at Matt, accusing him of being a fake cop and calling 911 over donuts. Karen's face drained of color. "How did you get that?" Matt smiled. "You uploaded it yourself, remember? Sent it to the HOA server as part of your complaint. Public record." Laughter rippled through the crowd. Karen sputtered, "That doesn't prove anything." "Oh, it proves plenty," Matt said, tapping another file. "This is your 911 transcript, and this is the official warning you received for misuse of emergency services." You could have heard a pin drop. Karen's jaw twitched, eyes darting. Then Matt delivered the knockout blow. "And since you filed a false impersonation claim against an actual officer, Internal Affairs has opened a harassment review. You'll be contacted for questioning next week." A collective gasp. Karen's voice cracked. You can't do that. I'm the president." Were Matt corrected? According to Section 3A of the HOA bylaws, filing false legal claims against a neighbor or public official is immediate grounds for removal. All eyes turned to Linda, the HOA vice president. She stood slowly, like she'd been waiting for this her entire life. Then I moved to remove Karen from her position as HOA president, effective immediately. Hands shot up everywhere. Karen slammed her gavel one last time, the sound hollow. "This is a witch hunt." Linda handed her a cardboard box. "You can pack your things, Karen." Karen stumbled over her purse on her way out, cursing under her breath while the room erupted in applause. I just sat there, half in shock, half in awe. After months of tension and chaos, it all ended in one meeting with Karen, undone by her own footage, and a man with a badge. Outside, Matt and I stood under the porch light, sipping coffee from the clubhouse's cheap paper cups. "You think she'll calm down now?" I asked. He smirked. "Not likely. But I hear Internal Affairs wants to hear her theory about the fake cop ring. That should keep her busy." A week later, word spread, Karen had resigned for personal reasons. The board quietly rolled back every ridiculous rule she'd ever created, including the one about pre-approved guests. Life went back to normal, sort of. Now every time Matt pulls into my driveway with a box of donuts, I can't help but laugh. Because thanks to one paranoid HOA president, I'll forever have the best story in the neighborhood. And if there's one thing I learned, it's that sometimes you don't have to fight crazy with anger. You just let the truth and maybe a good box of donuts do the work.